Hello. I like you better than me. So I wanted to make a video about my relationship with media, and I feel like maybe you guys can relate, but sometimes when the conversation around people have no media literacy, I feel like I am her, she is me sometimes. And I do feel like the conversation gets a little bit, I don't know, sidestepped and just becomes if you disagree with me, you aren't understanding. No one can have opinions, be like, oh, I dislike this because it's annoying. Or I just find it just didn't tickle my fancy, whatever it is. But I also feel um people should give reasons why they dislike things, because it does give us an insight on people's biases, things like that. So I just get kind of caught in the middle when I think about media that is popular media, and my own relationship with it, because I often dislike popular things. Oh my god, I'm realizing my eyebrows look so different. They are not giving sisters, or giving barely related fourth cousins. But so for me, I wanted to go into a couple things that are really popular that I really dislike, and just sort of bring up the question, is it me, or is it okay? Is there something that I can learn about media consumption through my dislike for these things? And again, I'm someone who wants to create art and often creates derivative art, and I think that it's for fear of stepping outside of the bounds, because I find the new stuff scary, and also everything is reference. It always is a reference. It's just about making reference to things that people don't know so that they don't clock your tea. Um, and I find that particularly confusing and sometimes frustrating, because I think of artists I always bring up Lana. I love Lana. You guys have to understand that. But she makes a lot of references, but because the fans of her don't know the references, she also does a lot of covers of songs that her fans don't know are covers. Cherry Wine is a cover, Blue Velvet is a cover, The Other Woman is a cover, and these are all maybe artists before her fans' time. So it's is it necessarily that she's super creative, or maybe the references are just unknown? And it's just creativity making reference to things that people don't know. You know what I mean? Maybe that is the case. But yeah, so long story short, I have a really hard time enjoying media that other people like. And one example is I really, really do not like characters that are meant to be complex, and their complexity extends to I just don't want to be alone, and that's why I hurt the people around me, and it's this fear of abandonment. And there are a lot of characters that are fan favorite that are like that. I can think of a couple off the top of my head. Klaus from the originals, I hated that show. It's not better than Vampire Diaries, you're wrong. No, but I just feel it's so surface level, and he's just a traumatized boy who traumatizes everyone else in his life, which is not a bad thing. But sometimes when I find fans of the show, they rationalize his behavior, and I always get sort of confused, because it's objectively annoying. And even writing wise, sorry, I have something in my ear, but even writing wise, I feel every time he would make progress, he would go right back down the hill. And it's sort of is that good writing? I don't know. Maybe I'm being too hateful on a show that's meant for teenagers. Does writing for teenage shows have to be amazing? No, of course not. And also I was thoroughly entertained, even if that's not true, I actually hated the originals, but I was entertained by one of them, The Vampire Diaries. But I also find books that I read that are really popular on Book Talk, even the ones that are considered actually good, the ones that are not smut, I dislike. I really disliked Six of Crows. I felt like Kaz is a really bad character. I didn't believe that any of the people in the found family actually would like each other, and I felt like people excuse Kaz's behavior against the other members of the team, and I was just why do any of them like him other than survival? And maybe that's me being bad at reading. Maybe I should revisit the book, but I really disliked it. And it's also maybe it's because I wasn't in the right headspace to enjoy something like that, because I had just lost my grandma and I was kind of crazy at the time. And it's maybe it's me. Genuinely, it could just be my mental state, and I could just spiral angrily at things because of my OCD. I really don't know. But I just felt by the second book, he was a completely different character, and I was where did this growth come from? All of a sudden, he's nice to the people that he was never nice to. I didn't get it. I also felt that way about Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I just felt like she was a mean person that did like really bad things. And don't get me wrong, I like people that do bad things in media, but sometimes like the line between this is a complex character and we should enjoy complexity, and this is just a character doing annoying ass shit and everyone keeps telling me that like I'm supposed to like them, gets blurred. I'm sure like people would disagree with my opinions. Like for example, in the show Arcane, I really like Caitlyn, which I know is crazy because she like gasses innocent people. But you know, to me, the motives made sense, and I understood like where she was coming from. She was hurt, and she'd been sheltered her whole life, so the magnitude of her actions didn't, you know, weigh in. And also, like her mom was nuked by her girlfriend's sister, so you know what I mean. Like it made sense to me, and also like I'm not really. It's just a personal bias, you know what I mean. I'm not really into characters that are like Jinx, and I really also feel that way about characters like Evelyn Hugo. I just feel like she would do bad things and be like, I don't have any regrets in life. I did what I had to do to survive. And it was like, so why should I care? And I also feel like a lot of the fans villainize Celia because she's a mean lesbian. And it's like, well, how are y'all reading a book about queer characters and one of the queer characters literally frames a man for murder? Like, I don't get it. Murder? I don't remember. She did something to that guy. And also, he's black, right? He was black, y'all. A white passing Latina woman framed a black man, and y'all hated on the writer of the story. And don't get me wrong, I like complexity. Again, that's kind of like how Taylor Jenkins Reid likes to write her books, and I totally get that. But sometimes like I'm so confused by the like deep love for her writing. And I do like complex characters. I really like the book The Catcher in the Rye, which I know people hate Holden, but I love Holden, and I understood where he was coming from. His first time I read a book, and I was like, oh, someone gets me. I'm a teenager, and like that angst and that desire to protect people from where I am, and I'm so young, but I feel so old, that type of stuff. I totally got it. You know, people can have differing opinions, but I love Holden Caulfield, which I know is crazy to say, because he's crazy. And then I also feel like things like Bridgerton. I've tried so hard to like that show, and people love that show, and I really want to love that show. And I don't want to be someone that hates romance because I think that men's stuff is better and I devalue women's interests. But I also feel like the show does a bad job at some stuff, and I thought that season 2, despite all the yearning that people love, made no sense. It was such a manufactured issue, and he was hurting her sister, poor Edwina, justice for Edwina, and I just feel so confused by the love that season has. I really started to like season 4. That was the first season I actually liked. But even the class commentary in that show just like confuses me. And I understand I need to suspend disbelief and just enjoy the process, enjoy the love. Maybe it isn't my genre, but I just feel so confused by it. And like genuinely, I couldn't finish the 4th season because I felt so bad for the servants. Like, damn, they don't even register them as human beings. It's great. And I understand that's like accurate to the times and all that stuff. But it's like, how am I supposed to root for people that view people like this? You know what I mean? Like, it was just so hard for me to like sit there and be like, yes, I'm rooting for you guys, when like all they would do was like degrade and demean people that work for them, and like, I don't know, like give them a little bit of a personality for this one season. Let's see if they do it in the next. You know what I mean? It just felt so and I really want to enjoy media, and I want to like make media, and I just want to do all of that. And you know, and even things that are like universally loved, like Sinners, which I love. There's like very little that I could say. I remember that was the first movie that I watched that whole year where I didn't have anything to say about it, except for one thing, which is that, you know, I didn't really understand why the villains or the vampires or whatever just sort of retreated after they like ambushed them. It was kind of confusing. You know what I mean? The whole lore of the vampires, I gotta watch the movie again because I was a little bit lost. And I do think like the horrific elements of it weren't as scary. It wasn't like, I wouldn't call it like a scary movie, you know, but like it had horror elements. And you know, I feel conflicted because I think that maybe it's the state of the world. It's the political and economic state of the world that makes me so unable to enjoy things in the way that I used to. Like, even I think about Heated Rivalry and the love that people have for it. And I'm gay through and through. I love gay shit. You know what I mean? I watched the first couple episodes of Heated Rivalry. I didn't finish it. I didn't watch the last episode, I don't think, but I think I watched all the other ones. And, you know, maybe it's because people in my life did not like it. But I just couldn't understand Like, the actors were amazing, but I just feel like the dialogue was like not very good. It was just mostly text messages. You know, the budget was really small, so I think they did the best what they could, and I totally get it. But it's like, why couldn't I enjoy this thing? And maybe it was because of all the discourse around it. Like that one guy from I Love LA. Shout out to I Love LA. I actually really like that show. But I just felt sort of frustrated by people being so mad at a gay man's take on it, to the point of a homophobia, which doesn't make any sense. Y'all are whatever. I can't get into straight women that like gay shit because it's none of my business. But I do feel like y'all do not at all, even a little bit, like gay women, and it really confuses me. But here's what I think it is. I think it's comparison. You don't want to see yourself on the screen. There's like a way that you can remove, you know, women's bodies, comparison, things like that, if you're watching men fuck and men experience intimacy in a way that doesn't feel super toxic or whatever, even though there was like a lot of homophobia and toxic masculinity in the show. But, you know, I digress. And I also feel like to some degree, maybe people just hate women, which is like crazy. But it's like the hate, like the vicious hate people have for Francesca and Michaela, specifically Michaela. You bitches are racist. I saw people saying that she was being like, she's in an incestuous relationship with her cousin because she was interested in hanging out with him until 4 a.m. Like, why are you taking him away from his wife until 4 a.m.? And I'm like, because they've known each other their whole lives. He just started marrying this woman. They've been together for what, a year? Like, what are you bitches talking about? You sound stupid. You actually sound like you have no friends and you sound stupid. And not everything is incestuous. Some people just like their family. I'm sorry that didn't happen for you. But I'm sorry, I'm being mean. But I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't understand it. The way that people find Michaela annoying frustrates me, because if anyone I find annoying is Francesca, because why is she acting like she's the only person to ever grieve anyone in their life, as if Michaela didn't lose someone that she's known her whole entire life. Like, but that's misogynoir. Like, and is that how you say it? I don't know. But like, you can't convince me it's not, because the way that people, also, I just have a really hard time with pregnancy plot lines and infertility, because it's not something that I personally relate to and understand, because I don't really fuck them kids. But I also understand for a lot of women that is the end all be all of who they want to be in their life. And I cannot talk them out of that love. It's the same thing with religion. It's like they really need it to survive. And I can't even pretend to understand that weight on them. So I understand the weight of having that character, that representation, but you got it. She couldn't have kids. That's horrible. Really hard. Clearly, she talks about it. But guess what? 2 lesbians cannot do, especially in that time frame. Can you guess? Have kids, you dumb fucking bitch. And it's like, I feel like infertility and the inability to have kids that look like you is an experience that is completely, utterly experienced by queer relationships specifically. And I know that the straights think it's just them, but guess what? It's not. And not all gay people don't want kids. Not all gay people are like, fuck them kids, like I do. I mean, like I say, whoa, crazy. But you know what I mean? Like, it's like I just, utter stupidity from the straights, specifically white women. And it really hurts my feelings, because originally, when I was watching the discourse about Bridgerton, I was sort of frustrated, because I felt like, you know, so what if Michaela is the more masculine, more aggressive, more outgoing person? I love that. And, you know, we deserve representation all around. But I understood that for a lot of Black women, they did not feel that way. And it's hard to see yourself represented always in a masculine way, or as the, like, doer, which I think is absurd, that even in queer relationships, there's so much pressure on, like, the femininity being placed on the person that, you know, receives or just lies there. In the case of a Pillow Princess, there's so much fighting to be the feminine in the queer community that I see, especially among women of color, especially like Black queer people. And I feel an immense amount of shame for thinking that it wasn't serious, because seeing the backlash and the way that people treat Cynthia Erivo to this day, as Ariana looks better, heals, she dyed her hair brown, and they blame Cynthia for it. And it's frustrating. But I also think, let Cynthia exist in the in-between, because some people are like, she's extremely high femme. And it's like, not all the time. I think, like, shaved head is a statement. And there are times where she, like, dresses in an androgynous way for, like, photo shoots and things like that. And I love that. And she has that right. And I don't think anyone should tell anyone that they are masculine or feminine or whatever. if that doesn't feel true to them, of course. But there are things that are historically masculine, historically feminine, and it all is rooted in white supremacy. I understand all of that. But gosh darn it, can we let the lesbians have fun? One season. You guys are barely going to watch it. I feel it in my bones. The discourse is going to make me have to log off or fight someone. And it's just like, I don't even like Bridgerton that much. Back to the main topic of the story, or of this video. I just have a really hard disconnect, and I'm not shocked by the reaction of fans, because I saw the first season of Bridgerton and I saw the fans of it, and I knew that they were going to be, you know, a little classist, and very much racist, even though there was colorblind casting, you know, and that's just the reality of the world. But I just find myself so disinterested in pop culture nowadays, even with things like Wicked, which I didn't really like either. And I like complexity, but I think that I'm having a hard time being uncomfortable when I watch things. And it's like, to some extent, that is me, because I should put myself out there and watch things that are more controversial and, you know, things like that. And I want to, and I don't want to be one of those people that is automatically offended or automatically disinterested, or just wants to watch things that feel good. I watch The Burbs, love it. You guys should watch it. It's a great show. And it's a really feel-good show, and maybe I just need to find things that I really feel good about and then venture off from there, because pushing yourself in the deep end is not going to work. But let me know if you guys feel similarly. Are you feeling like you can't enjoy things? Why do you think it is? Do you feel like it's a society's like purity tests that we get all the time, that everyone has to be perfect? Video essays, maybe I'm a video essay girl that just like dissect and rip things to shreds, to the point where maybe you're like, I don't know what I can like. Can I like this? Is this okay? Or maybe it's just that you feel like, in an attempt to be subversive or outside the box, people just keep coming out with things that feel like they want to be contrary. And I think about the song Whoopsie Daisy, you yelling I love you. There's a lot to be said about, you know, emancipation and finding love with a man, and that being freeing. And I cannot in good conscience say that that is always bad, because it's not. But I do feel like the imagery of like, I was going to kill myself till you came along, you know, it carries its weight. And it's like, is that a bad interpretation? Am I giving her a fair shot? And the fact is, probably not. You know what I mean? Because misogyny is real, and especially there's like a unique kind of misogyny against white women. Not to say it's more intense or worse, but it is unique in that, you know, you can put white in front of women and then it's not misogynistic. But I do feel like there are a lot of times where, you know, white women do misogynistic shit. and yeah, so I think culture is becoming really difficult for me to consume as someone who loves consumption. And it's like, maybe I have to just stop consuming a little bit, and give myself a palate cleanse. But I always just feel like I'm spitting, but I always just feel like I'm so interested in what's coming out and what people love that I don't really know what I love. And it makes me, I think, maybe a worse creator and creative and artist. And maybe it also makes me more hateful against other people's art, because it's like, why do they get to, you know, release this to an audience? And maybe it's all just jealousy. I don't know. Something to think about. So anyways, if you agree or disagree, or you hate my guts because I said some shit about something that you love, let me know. Do you love the way I do when I'm loving your butt? Okay, I'm gonna go. Bye guys, gotta go to work. Mwah.